Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alrighty everyone, welcome to another recommendations video, and today we are doing dystopian romance recs, okay? Now I've made this video in a couple different ways. I've made this video as like forced proximity, and I've done it also as like end of the world romances. I've also done it as survival romances in ×2. But I keep getting asked for dystopian romance recs or books that are like Claire Kent, so you can guess who a big part of this video is going to be. But, you know, there are other ones as well, so we're putting this one all in one video. One of the things I always say to my patrons, like when I'm explaining my process of things, is I'm really known for my huge backlist of recommendation videos. That is one of my strengths. It's one of my favorite things. I love doing the oddly specific, the taboo, the super niche recs, as well as more broadly recommendations too. It's something that I enjoy providing, like all the possibilities for someone. So something I always try to remind myself when I'm getting certain recommendations like over and over again is it means, well, it's a perfect excuse to kind of like revamp a list. Maybe I have new recs. Maybe I use a mix of ones I've already talked about many times with some that are newer to me. And also like relabeling and resharing videos is a great way to help other people find you, because when someone types into Google or YouTube a certain recommendation list, you know, let's say they're looking for mafia recs or whatever, having many different titles, even for kind of the same list, is a great way for people to find you. And, you know, I get numerous messages a month of people saying, oh, I was looking up books like Bridgerton and I found you and now I've binged all of your backlist of videos or your backlog. Or I was looking for fantasy romance recs, which to this date I think is my like most popular video that I have, is my fantasy romance video, even though I cringe so hard because it's from like 4 years ago and I've read so many better ones since then. It is the entry point for people to get to you. So anyway, that's just a little bit of thought process. I like to share that sometimes as kind of a like nerdy thing for people, as well as I know I have a lot of small channels who watch me themselves. I consider myself a small channel too, so, but other creators who, you know, are trying to figure out how to set themselves apart or make them special. And I mean, honestly, for me, having a huge backlist of recommendation videos is always a great way, because if someone finds you and they discover that you have really similar tastes to them, there's nothing better than a treasure trove of recommendations that they can get from you. So let's get started with this dystopian romance recs. These are going to cover, you know, I mean, in general, dystopian is going to mean that it's a sci-fi situation, but some of these will lead more towards paranormal, some more towards fantasy, but they all will have some kind of end of the world vibe where things are like lawless and the people are really kind of fighting for themselves. And of course, this video is tailor-made as an excuse to talk about Claire Kent. Again, I will never, ever tire of talking about Claire Kent. She is one of the greatest gems that I have discovered in recent years. And her Kindled series will be coming to a close. I have a caveat to it, but it'll be coming to a close, I believe, in, is it going to be August or is it a little later on? I think it might be later on. It might be closer to December where she will be wrapping up this series, but she's already said there'll be a spin-off for it. She loves this world too much to leave it, but I think it's a good idea. I'd be very interested to see what she does with a spin-off. If we like go to a completely different part of the world or like what that would be, I'd be excited. So Claire Kent writes these very like unassuming stories. I call them my apocalypse comfort reads because there's just something that's really cozy about them. Even when there are dangerous situations, they're very cozy. So we're going to work through this stack here. There are currently 7 books plus 1 in this series. There will be, as I said, one more that's coming. It's for a couple I've been waiting for this whole time. So I highly recommend you give this series a go so you can get all caught up before the newest one comes out. She only has an audiobook for Last Light currently, but she has said she will start working on getting audiobooks for these in the coming like year or so. So there's that to look forward to. Okay, so the book that started it all for me is, of course, Last Light. Now, she considers this a companion novel to the series. I've said multiple times, I don't fully understand why it's a companion novel to her. I've seen people ask her this, and I think it just had to do with she really bases the rest of them off of the main ones, which we'll get into. But to me, it connects just as much, and this is a great, like, full-length standalone type book that is an intro into this series. But this one is a age gap, forced proximity, traveling together romance, and this is between Travis and Lainey. They are from the same town. They both were kind of stuck there when the rest of the people took off after this this asteroid had hit Earth. I believe at the beginning of this one, it's 3 or 4 years ago. And this is also kind of the soonest that we see after the apocalypse and everything else starts to get further out, which is great. And there had been this like great, like unhealthy air and like haze and everything that had taken over. And so a lot of people didn't make it through. But their town, there was quite a few people who survived. And the people in the town took off to go to where they've heard there's a safe space. And Travis and Lainey both had to stay behind for different reasons. They had loved ones that couldn't travel, and they stayed around with them. Now, they didn't really know each other well in this town. Again, he is over 10 years older than her. He had a wife and a kid. Now his ex-wife and his kid has died. And Lainey had her grandmother, and the grandmother and the kid have both died. And anyway, lots of explanation. They end up both going. Now, in the beginning, Lainey doesn't want to travel with him. Again, she doesn't know him that well, and she knows that men, particularly now, have, you know, lost a lot of their scruples. They're willing to just take what they want. But Travis really does want to help her travel. And so after there's a bit of a like snafu in the beginning, Travis proves himself to her, and they end up traveling together. So this book is them surviving, which I love. It's my favorite part of dystopian or survival things, is I love the little day-to-day things you have to do, like setting up traps, trying to scavenge for food. Like, I love that. And where this turns to romance is that Lainey, she is still a virgin because all of this went down, you know, when she was a teenager. She, I believe, is only like 19 or 20. And she just wants some joy at the end of times. And that's really a theme in this series, like what the Last Light stands for, what the Kindled title stands for in this series, is that she's just looking for some joy. It's like, okay, so we're surviving. What is there? You know, do we just have to suffer all the time? And so she asked Travis to have sex with her. And of course, like, he wants to, but he's like, I don't want you to feel like you're trading your safety with your body, because I would protect you. We would work together no matter what. That's not what this is, which again, you know, it's just proving, I hate saying like what a stand-up guy he is, because yes, you shouldn't expect sex for safety. However, a theme that Claire Kent puts into her books is that women are willing to use their bodies for safety. Like, we just would. If you have nothing, if you have no currency, if you have no reason for someone to keep you alive, there's a reason why, you know, sex work is the oldest profession. Like, when you don't have any other capital, any other way, you're willing to do that. And again, that's a theme we'll see through the series, is the people who are willing to make that trade and like what it means. But in this case, Travis is like, absolutely not. We don't have to. And she's like, no, it's not because I think I owe you. It's because I want to have sex. And you're the best option for me right now. So anyway, that was a whole long explanation to set this up, but you know, you were in for it when we got into this. We'll go a bit quicker through what each of these other ones are, and I'll tell you which are my favorites. But absolutely, positively, Last Light is my favorite book by Claire Kent that I've read. This is the special hardcover edition. I have one of the other editions here, but I'm going to show off my hardcover set because I prize them so much. But anyway, there's Last Light. And again, there is an audiobook available for this one. So if you'd like to start out that way, you can. Then we have, again, the official start of the series, which is Haven. This one is a novella. There's a couple shorter ones in this series, but in general, most of these books are around 200 pages. Like I said, Last Light is the longest one, and I think like at like 300 pages, although I think Homestead, the most recent one, might be close to that as well. But in general, they're pretty short. So Haven, we get introduced to the survival city of Haven, and this is the first book officially in the Kindled series, and we get introduced to the people who live there. There's Jackson, and I just forgot her name because it's been a long time. And all of these are first person point of view, so I forget what the heroines' names are a lot. But anyway, there's Jackson and our heroine, and they're kind of the unofficial leaders of this city that has protection. It has walls around it. They have animals there. They've set up, you know, they're starting to grow things where they can. They do things in a group. So they are one of our like protected places, and their haven, the city's called New Haven, and it's run by these in general like younger people. They were in foster homes, they were each other's neighbors, and they're really the ones protecting the city. And throughout the series, as I said, this is kind of a main base throughout the time. Like we'll see people come to here, we'll see people from here go other places, they'll trade goods with everybody, so they're kind of like the central hub. And again, that's why I do understand kind of why this is supposed to be like the first official book in the series. But we absolutely see Haven for the first time. If you read like Last Light, you see people from Haven there. And again, you will start to see crossovers here. So there's Haven, which again could be a great place to start, since again Claire Kent says it's the official start, but also it's a short book, so you can see if you like it. Then there is Princess, and this one is about again, I think Haley's her name. I don't remember her name either. We're not even going to try. But there is Grant, and he is like a bodyguard type character to her. So our heroine in this one is actually the daughter of a like billionaire, and he had actually purchased a spot in a bunker because some of the wealthier people, some of the people in the know, they actually knew about this asteroid coming before other people did. And like they knew that it really would mean the end of things. And so he had purchased a spot in a, you know, bunker that was in a silo. You've probably heard of these places. Like they're actually real places that people like do have these. And so when the asteroid was about to hit, her father sent Grant, who is someone who actually works for this company who provides this place or whatever, and he's sent to pick her up from college and bring her there. So she has no idea, and her dad's like, trust this man, he's going to bring you to me, and we're going to be there. So we see the flashback to the first day she meets Grant. I believe she's only, you know, so she's like 18 or 19 when she meets him, because again, I think she's her first year of school. And then we skip ahead through the years to now, like her father has died, they're running out of food in this bunker, and they're actually going to be opening the doors for the first time because they're able to see that like life is a little more sustainable outside. Like I said, it's been about 5 years, and the hierarchy within the bunker has also changed over time too, because your money doesn't mean anything anymore now that you're there, because this bunker was filled with the people who purchased spots there, as well as like the people who worked in it, you know. So some of the people who worked it got kind of lucky that they'd be there too. So that is this one, and they have to deal with outsiders who have like found their bunker and want to try to get in at what's inside. Then we have Embers. This is one of my favorites in the series. This is one that a lot of people want to like start with when they hear what it's about. In general, pretty much the entire series is age gaps. So if you love age gaps and you love like kind of the power differential that can go with those, it's great. But Embers is a boyfriend's dad. Like there's no other way to say it, because it isn't her ex-boyfriend, it's her dead boyfriend. This book actually starts with her boyfriend dying. Like her and her boyfriend were escaping from the city. They're young, and he actually has a dad who, you know, is like divorced from his mom. They aren't together, and the dad is kind of a mountain man as it is. He's kind of reclusive and lives in this cabin in the woods. And when he sees everything go to shit, he goes into the city to try to get his ex-wife and his son and like bring them out there. Now, I believe the mother is gone, like we can't get her. And so Cal is the name of this dad. He gets his son and Rachel, I remember the heroine's name of this one, Rachel, and brings them out to his home. Now, it doesn't take too long, and this son actually dies. He gets the disease from the bad air, and he passes away not too long after they've moved here. And so now in this cabin in the middle of the woods is just Cal and Rachel, and it's just the two of them for years. So you can see how eventually love's going to come for them as well. Now, Cal will make you want to bang your head against a wall. Okay, he's very resistant to the fact that he's falling for this very young woman who was his son's girlfriend. But I also think this one has some of the it has some of the most hottest, like, forbidden scenes. Because I feel like this one is the one that feels the most forbidden of all of them anyway, just because of the situation. So yeah, Embers is one that a lot of people get down with for sure. All right, then we have the kind of second novella length one in here. This one's called Hero. And this one, I really need to reread this one. I've only read this one, I think, the once, whereas pretty much all the other ones I've read multiple times. But Hero is about our heroine in this one. Again, I don't remember her name, but Zed is the hero. And he is actually a single dad. So the way that this one started out is that I think it was a complicated situation. So again, we have like a small hunting cabin, and there was a heroine and her stepfather, and the stepfather and his parents and her mom. And then there was the stepfather's younger brother and his girlfriend. They all went to stay in this cabin. And that was, you know, at the beginning of everything. And then as time went along, slowly the people started falling off. And during this time, actually, Zed, his girlfriend that he brought with, she was pregnant. And she, I believe, like, died in childbirth or soon after the birth of the child. And, you know, again, through all the things, now the only people left is Zed and his young daughter and our heroine. And they live in this home together. Now, this one's supposed to be kind of like an enemies to lovers thing because she didn't get off to a good start with him when she first met him. Because, I mean, she did first meet him like when her stepfather married her mom. You know, the brother came to the wedding and everything, and he was just kind of like a stupid jock in college at that time. You know, he's not super older than her than some of the other ones, but, you know, he's older enough from her that she thought he was kind of a jerk. And then she also thought it was super irresponsible that he got this woman pregnant and then, like, she died. So there's a lot of mixed feelings between them. But one thing they are both absolutely certain on is this sweet little girl that they are both trying to protect and also give her as good of a life as they can. So yeah, this one's another novella length one. And yeah, I really need to reread this. After talking about it, I really want to read this one again because, you know, we got single dad going on. And this one's really cute too. I know I shouldn't say cute about these, but I do. All right. Then we actually have Citadel and Sanctuary, and these ones are about two sisters. So you do need to read Citadel first. And this one, we actually get introduced to another place that people are living. I mean, each of these, as I've explained, none of them start out in Haven except for Haven itself, but they are like closer to the area of Haven. This one, we actually go to like the coast of one of the cities. And our heroine and her sister are living with this group in this hotel. And there's actually been like flooding where they are. So everyone has to use boats to get around and everything in the beginning. And her and her sister live in this city. Now, her and her sister have, like, the older sister who will be the one we get in Sanctuary. She has been the one who will trade her body for safety. So she has slept with many a bit of a skeezy man through the years to A, keep her sister from having to do it, and B, keep them alive and fed. Her sister's very beautiful, and she's willing to do this. Like, she doesn't think twice about it. She's willing to trade her body to get that. There is a time in this one where I believe her sister gets taken. Yeah. Her sister ends up getting taken by this group, and so she's trying to get her back. And there's this guy named Cole who, at 2 years before like this takes place, she had actually met him and kind of like had a thing for him, and then he had disappeared because he himself is looking for his brother, who is mixed up with a bad group of people. And it turns out that the group of people his brother is with is the same group that has kidnapped her sister. So they end up traveling together. He's going to try to convince his brother to leave, and she wants to get her sister back. So they now have to team up to get her sister back. So that's Citadel. And then in Sanctuary, surprise, the sister gets saved, and now it's been like a little while, and she now has went in the total opposite. So for all these years, she has traded her body for safety and for food and for protection for her and her sister, and now her sister is safe. She has a hot man, and she's never going to make that trade again. She's almost anti-man. And so there's kind of this group, which I haven't mentioned them yet because you'll see them throughout the series, but there's actually this group of women who we meet them way back in Last Light, that it's a group of women who are fighters, and if they see a woman who's being forced to trade herself with a man, they will step in, they will kill the man, and be like, you don't need to trade yourself for anyone. You can join us and help do this. And there's actually a situation where that happens to somebody who they're like, honey, if you're trading yourself with this man, we'll kill him. You don't have to stay with him at all. The girl's like, no, he's my boyfriend. I'm actually okay with giving myself to him. It's cool. But our heroine in this one, that's something she might want to be a part of, actually. And there's this guy in here, his name is Aiden, and he's a bit of like a tinker trader guy. So he literally will go and do these different like trades with different of the communities, because now actually we're a bit further on in the apocalypse, and so there's more towns and groups being set up. And anyway, they end up getting pinned against each other in a they end up getting pinned against each other in a competition that one of the cities sets up. And through this competition, they end up getting stuck in a church for a few days. She's been injured. There's a snowstorm, as you can tell with the fun motif. And yeah, they end up definitely falling for each other during this time and deciding that, hey, instead of being enemies, let's fall in love instead. So. All right, and then currently the most recent one that just came out, which I don't have my hardcover yet. Hopefully I'll be able to get that one soon. But there's Homestead. And this one I love. And this one I've been telling people, you could read this one without having read any of the other ones. If when I tell you about this book, you're interested in it, you can start with this one. With a lot of the other ones, I kind of recommend you read them in order just for how they're going. But in this one, again, we're introduced to a whole new community of people. And we're introduced to our heroine in this one. I always forget what their names are. I wish that I knew her name because I like her. Chloe. So there's Chloe and there is Jimmy. So Chloe, in the very beginning of this, her and her grandfather have actually been living, I believe it's for 9 years, in her grandfather's like prepper paradise, okay? He had the generators, he had the food, he had the MREs, he had the safety, but they are starting to run out of certain things now. You know, almost a decade in, okay? So she barely even remembers the time before because she was only, I believe, 14 when this all like went down, and it's just been her and her grandpa for most of that time. Now, when they venture out, sadly, her grandpa gets on basically page 2 of this book. Her grandpa's gone. So we don't even really have time to mourn the grandpa. He's out. And she gets saved by Jimmy, who happens to be patrolling kind of the safe zone. You'll understand that when you read these. And so she literally has nowhere to go and nothing. And so she gets brought into this community and starts, you know, doing work. Everybody needs a job to do, and they're happy to have her. And because she is a young, you know, pretty girl, Jimmy, who is a few years older, he's actually the son of the people who kind of like own the bigger farm that like all of this is on. He's looking to find a woman for himself, right? I mean, it would be find a wife, but I mean, they're not really going to be officially getting married or anything. And he has a little farm, he has some chickens, he has some animals, and he's looking for someone to help him because being a little ways away from the main place, like it'd be good to have other protection, and it'd be good to have someone to share the work with. And also, he wants a woman in his bed. Like, he admits it. He's like, I'm lonely. It's tough being out there on my own, and you know, would have your own space, you'd have your own home, and then we could be together if you want. And Chloe, you know, immediately assesses the situation, and she's like, this is a very good offer. He's not bad looking, he's youngish, he's offering me this, you know, in exchange for me to like cook and clean and have sex with him. And she's like, I'm willing to do it, right? So we're coming back around to that, you know, the situation a lot of these women will find themselves in, right? And so she's willing to do it. And the thing is she's so afraid of possibly messing things up and making Jimmy unhappy with her that it leads them into some miscommunication that could be very frustrating. It could be very frustrating. But the way Claire Kent always handles these things, like, you completely understand why they're miscommunicating with each other, because what else could happen in the situation they're in, you know? So there we go. That is, you know, I spent 30 minutes talking about this series, so I hope you are interested in some of them. I'll have links to all of them down below. Beacon will be the last book in, like I said, this official series, and I haven't mentioned them because it's just throughout it, but there's a couple that are not a couple throughout the series, but it's very clear that they've pined for each other for 6 years, right? Because this series starts when we're about 3 years after Impact, and this last book we read was at 9 years after Impact, and our hero, that will be the hero of the final book, his name is Mac. At the end of Homestead, Chloe actually offers him that home that her and her grandfather were in, because he just needs a break from everything. It's been many years of this, of barely surviving, and he just needs a break. And she's like, as a thank you for him helping them out in a situation, she offers him this. She's like, I'm happy here with Jimmy. There's food, there is electricity even there. Go there and have some rest. And so that's the setup for Beacon, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. All right, now let's whip through some of these other ones. I've talked fully in detail about this. This was a chance for me to pimp out the Kindled series, which I'm always happy to do, but let's power through some of these other recommendations, okay? Okay, so I have A Wilderness Within by Emma Castle. This one is a disease version of it. This one you will find a bit creepy because this author started writing this book in, I believe, the summer of 2019, and the disease that everyone gets in here is extremely like COVID. So I didn't read this book until 2021, and it gave me so many chills. And the author actually had to have an author's note because it was published in 2020. And she was like, I know some people won't believe this, but the very first draft of this book that I did was in, you know, this time, and it just so happened that the research that I did about what type of disease could like take out the world, it ended up being really similar. So it's a bit zombie apocalypse vibe crossed with like a super flu, and we have a heroine. She gets injured in the beginning, she gets rescued by this man, and he decides that he's going to keep her. So there is a bit of coercion, there is a bit of his like, I'm keeping you for myself. He's not like immediately like forcing himself on her or anything, but this one does edge towards a darker thing where he's like, I found this beautiful woman, I saved her, I will make her love me by providing for her, she will love me eventually, right? And I respect it, man. I respect it. So I really liked this one so much. It's stuck with me all this time. There is the Fallen World Trilogy by Laura Thalassa. This one has some like paranormal elements to it. I actually just reread this trilogy. It's not my very favorite by Laura Thalassa, but it definitely has that dystopian end of the world. There's a dictator, and our heroine is supposed to be part of like the negotiation team to make a deal with him, but if that's not going to work, then she's going to assassinate him, and instead he decides that he will make a peace treaty with them if she will marry him. And then we dive into the crazy toxic merry-go-round that is their relationship, and you just might have a great time with it, okay? Again, not my favorite role, but a lot of people like it. And Laura Thalassa obviously has to the other dystopian series, which is the one with war and famine and pestilence and all those, which I've only read the first book in, so I don't have lots of recs to make for it. Then I wanted to do a blast from the past, because this is a book I really loved. This has a very low steam level, but I love the romance so much. And that's The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Yes, I still love this book so much. I love the romance between Wanda and Ian. And then we have Melanie and Jared. But this is in a world where these aliens, who actually are a very peaceful type of alien, they have taken over people's bodies. And they've actually made the world perfect. But that's the thing. In making the world perfect, they've also made it very unhuman in a lot of ways, because humans are messy and not perfect, and they're violent, and they're sexual, and they're this and that and whatever. And we have Wanderer, who is the name of of this alien who has taken over the body of Melanie. Now, Melanie is a very strong human, and she refuses to just give up and let herself be taken over by Wanda, who ends up being, her nickname is Wanda. And so Melanie actually like tortures, in a way, Wanda with her memories and of being in love with a man named Jared and loving her little brother. I think Jamie is his name, is the little boy's name. And she really kind of like forces her to care about these people. And then once she does, she leads her to where some of the last few humans are. And yeah, and it's, can we save the humans? Should we save the humans? What is humanity really? It's all those good questions, okay? And I love it, okay? I love it. I love that book. I've read it 50 million times. Definitely give it a try sometime. All right, now let's take a turn for some of the much darker ones. We have Land of the Beautiful Dead by R. Lee Smith. I am still shook by this book. This one, again, we have an evil dictator who's kind of a like, I don't even know what he is, so I won't try to explain him. But we have a heroine who is trying to negotiate with him, and you know that if you want to negotiate with him, you have to go and then like offer him your body. Like, she just knows she's gonna have to do that, and so she's willing to go and do that. And so she basically becomes his like concubine and is trying to like make deals with him to have, you know, better things for the humans, kind of. Now, because this is Land of Beautiful Dead, there is also a zombie type being that's there, and there are beings that he's able to like control, and there's a whole mess. This one is spooky AF. It is creepy, but it was strangely erotic, and I also couldn't look away. So there's that. So check that out if any of what I said interests you. Then I am so happy to show off this book, even though it terrifies me, and you know, you'll have to make a decision if you want to read it. But I so thankfully now have the Eve Trilogy by Pam Godwin. One of my friends actually got this from me, got a scratch and dent sent for me. See, there's barely any dents in it. From Dark and Disturb, they did the Eve Trilogy by Pam Godwin. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the darkest, like, apocalypse romances I've ever read. The trilogy is a romance. Each individual book, not so much. Okay, like, there is a happily ever after for some characters. Okay, I don't know another way to say it. This was her very first books that she put out, and she was much more into horror back then. Sorry, I should be holding this up. And so I'm just telling you, when you read book 2, your heart is going to be ripped to shreds, and then, you know, built back up, maybe by the 3rd book. You'll have to decide. But in this world, we have Eve. There's this virus that devastates humanity, and few men survive, and the rest turn into monsters. And then all the women are dead except for Eve. Through a quirk in her genetics, she survives. And when her physiology begins to evolve, she must come to terms with what she is and accept her role in finding a cure. The mutated hunt her, the men brutalize her, except for 3. There's a cryptic warrior, a contrite lover, a caring enemy, and they are fiercely protective of the last living woman. But divided in their own agendas, can they come together to protect the only hope for humanity? Evie must survive. So yeah, this one is also like a why choose situation, because when you're the only woman left at the end of the world, like, that's probably going to happen for sure. And yeah, this one very much felt, the things that they mutate into are not straight up like a zombie or something. They are bug type thing. So just be prepared for the horror of this, okay? But now that I can finally share the beautiful books I have, I had to recommend it. But go with caution, go with, you know, one eye open. I'm just saying, just be prepared. It's a bit creepy. It's there. There is Deal with the Devil by Kit Rocha. This is the beginning of the Mercenary Librarians. Again, these ones are a lower steam, but it's still there. It's still there. And this starts with these group of ladies who are called the librarians, and basically they protect books. They protect knowledge. Because in the time that they live, there is not much of it left. This also has like Mad Max Fury Road vibes. You'll see when you read it. And also, yeah, so these like women help protect their area, and people can like check out books from them and bring them back. Like literally they're librarians protecting information. So like if you need to do something, there's not access to like computers or stuff anymore. So if you need a recipe book because you want to make stuff, like you come and check out straight up like a library or whatever, and they will go on these raids and try to find more books to add to the catalog, to add to the library. And the way that this one starts is there is a mission that they get hired to help with, and there are these soldiers who have actually betrayed their unit. Now the thing is, they're in a dangerous place because these soldiers all have this type of like kill switch in their head. And if they're not able to stop it and neutralize it, they can be terminated from like far away, basically. So they're in a tight spot, and they get told that they will have that like the cure or to neutralize this thing provided for them if they will betray this group of women, these mercenary women. And so they don't want to do that because they realize these women are the possibility of like to save so many of them. But also they don't want to be killed, so they're in a tight position. So anyway, I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy. I still need to read the 3rd one, but I thought it was really interesting. The audiobook was really well done. Highly recommend. I believe I listened to the first 2 on AnyPlay, so definitely check that out there. Okay, then we of course have to share Soul Eater and Eden, or the whole Monstrous series by Lily Mayne. This one is an series. There are monsters, there are men, there is an apocalypse where this big rift has opened up in the world and all these monsters poured out, and some of them are sexy, devious ones, and some of them are big, fluffy, sexy ones, and they're falling in love with their men, and that's what's happening, and they're surviving. There's road trip aspects happening in here. There's Grumpy Sunshine. Like, look at Hunter and Eden. I just fucking love them. So great. So highly, highly recommend this series. The audiobooks of these are also really good, but yeah, I love that series so much. There is Moonshine by Cat Bostic. It's been a long time since I read this one. I read this one when I first did my like diving into I can't talk, I'm sorry, apocalypse romances. So yeah, this one is a guy and a girl. He rescues her, she's injured, and he takes her to his, you know, hideaway in the woods, and then like doesn't want to let her go. But you know, he might be kind of sexy, so maybe it won't be so bad if she's stuck staying with him, you know, might not be so bad. There is The Protector by Ellen Peer. This is a part of the Men of the North series. This series is fascinating. I got a little bit burned out on it, but I did read like the first 5 books in the series, and basically like there are very few men left, and the men who are left are like, I don't know another way to say it, they're not really like manly anymore. I know it's weird to explain this without it sounding not great. I don't know another way to say it, but there's the men in the North and the women in like the South. So the North is supposed to be like Canada, and the men up there, they have very few women, and so they actually have these every 10 years basically there's a woman available, and so they have to have this huge like competition to try to win this woman, and then, you know, she's now in a marriage with whoever like wins this competition or whatever. Is it every 10 years or is it once a year? I don't even remember. But then our heroine, who's the main one in this, she is from, you know, the South where all the women are, and there is this archaeological site that's been found in the North, and so they make a deal with the men that she will be able to come there to study it. The thing is, no women who are there are supposed to be unmarried. Like, they're either in protection of their guardian or they're married, because if a woman is left unclaimed, like, it could be madness. So she needs someone to be her protector. So she's assigned someone to be her protector when she goes there. So yeah, it is a crazy world. The way that the politics work and the way that people's minds work, this series is a mind fuck for sure, for sure. But definitely check it out. Beforehand, Manacled. This is like Harry Potter dystopian in a weird way. You'll probably know what this one is about, but this is like The Handmaid's Tale, which is dystopian, mixed with well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's mixed with Harry Potter. It's The Handmaid's Tale mixed with, what's the other thing people always claim? I don't even remember. I don't know. It's terrifying, but Hermione is shackled. She's manacled, and she gets given to Draco and his wife to produce a magical child for them because the purebloods are having problems having babies. And so instead of just straight up killing, you know, all of the opposition to the Dark Lord, because he has one in this world, they are handing out the mudbloods, or the half-bloods basically, to pureblood couples so they can try to have a child. And basically she is a womb for them to do this. And there are a lot of secrets. There's a lot of darkness. It's freaking thick. And if you haven't read it yet, I caution you, but also it will be one of the greatest journeys you've ever been on. It's a gateway drug to beautiful and powerful things. I'm just saying, it's true. Okay, then to round this video off, I did not expect the dystopian video to be this long. I have 2 books from Tiffany Roberts, one that I've read and one that I need to read very soon. So there is The Warlock's Kiss. This one is a paranormal dystopian, and we have our heroine, Adeline, and her brother, Danny. Now, Adeline actually has, I believe it's like a tumor or cancer of some kind, and so she's trying to help her brother learn how to protect himself and keep himself going when she eventually dies, because there's no cure for this anymore. The world's been torn asunder. There isn't any regular medical care. There isn't food. There isn't anything. And her and her brother stumble across this mansion kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they're able to get inside. And it turns out this belongs to a warlock named Merrick, who is very upset when they steal some of his peanut butter. And he's going to just smite them. But instead, he realizes, to his horror, that this human woman is his fated mate. And he just refuses to believe this, but also he can't just smite her like he wants to, because he's like, damn it, I think this woman is my fated mate. What am I going to do? You know? Horrible, horrible thing to realize, right? And so, yeah, it's wild, the poor crazy thing. So he doesn't know what he's going to do, because it's like he's found his fated mate and she might die. And, you know, is life even worth it if you can't have her? So anyway, that was a horrible way to explain this. I know it was. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I love Tiffany and Robert and the stories they write. And this is a really good one. So check that out. And then the one that I haven't read yet, and I'm actually like shook that I haven't read it yet, is Dustwalker. This is one of their other standalone books that they have. And this one is I believe this one's supposed to have Mad Max Fury Roads vibes as well. I don't know, but it's a synth searching for purpose. Walk, scavenge, destroy, trade. A simple cycle that suited Ronan for 185 years. With no clear grasp of his programming, the barren wasteland known as the Dust offers him purpose. A place where his armored undercasing, amped up processors, and advanced optics can be put to use. The ramshackle towns on the edges of the waste serve merely as resupply stations between increasingly long treks. But one night, one human woman makes him question everything. A woman who brings him to life. Laura Brooks struggles to survive under the strict rules imposed by the bots in Cheyenne. With her sister missing, she's been on her own for weeks and fears the worst. Her only hope comes from Ronan, a bot she catches spying on her. He promises to provide for Laura and search for her sister. All she has to do is dance. It should be easy. She's done it before. But the longer she spends with Ronan, the harder it is to see him as just another bot. A sanctuary hiding dark secrets. In a city where humans are regulated to survive in squalor, Ronan discovers a threat greater than any in the dust. Warlord, Cheyenne's tyrannical leader. When Ronan ignores the rules, he unwittingly puts Laura in danger. Warlord is as intolerant of disrespect as he is of mankind. So yeah, this one is a thick one too, but I have seen this one for years. It got this beautiful recover not too long ago, and yeah, I need to finally read it. I know there's an audiobook for this one too, so I need to get to it. But anyway, that's going to do it for the dystopian romance Rex. Holy crap, I talked way longer than I meant to, for sure. But definitely check these out. I'll have links below to all of these. So if you're interested, you can pick one up. It helps out the channel if you do. And yeah, Thank you so much. Let me know if there's any recs you have. Check out the other videos I will have linked if you like survival romances or end of the world stuff. I have some more recs there for you. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.